don't think I don't know why you clicked on this video. You expected to see me sitting here with Dylan Bates, the Final Cut Pro. Well, he is here in spirit. Dylan sent me his new Pro Zooms 2 templates for Final Cut Pro and asked me to check them out. And he said he'd give you guys 15% off if you use my promo code. So let's just check it out together. I'll tell you what I think. So here's the sequence of shots we're going to be playing with today. Dylan's Pro Zooms allow you to add camera-like movements to your shots without having to use keyframes, which we all love. What I really like about these is that he gives you not just effects, but also these templates as title templates as well. And I personally prefer using title templates, so that's where we're going to start today. So let's start with Pro Zoom. I'm just going to drag this title template over this clip in my timeline. And I'm just gonna trim this to before the end of this shot. And let's see what it does by default. It's gonna zoom into this dancer, and then it's going to zoom back out with a really nice, smooth, eased move. And so by default, I think this looks great, but we can do a lot more with it. You'll notice when I'm selected on the title template, I get this rectangle in my viewer here. This almost works like a Ken Burns effect. I can reposition this rectangle and center it on her face where, let's say, I want the focus to be. So now instead of centering right in the center of the frame, it's framed more the way I want. There's also this on-screen control, which allows me to control the rotation. And I'm seeing a little bit of the edge of my picture here, so I'm going to adjust my rectangle. And now it's going to rotate in and rotate out. Pretty cool. But if we head on over to the title inspector, you can see there's a lot more controls that we have. I can choose to enable or disable the build in or build out. So if I disable the build in, my shot will just start cropped in and rotated, and then it will just zoom out toward the end of the title. Let's enable that again. I can adjust the speed of the movement, and I can adjust the motion. So it can either ease in or out, accelerate, decelerate, accelerate, then decelerate, or custom mix. Let's select custom mix, and under custom type, let's change this to flow, half a second. And you can see that gives us a different move. We could even just do a simple linear move if we wanted to as well. So obviously doing this is so much faster than using keyframes, so I really like that. A couple other things I really like about this is that there's an option for scale lock. So it limits how much you can scale into your frame. If you are using 4K video on a 1080 timeline, you can set it to 200%, and so you really won't lose resolution. And if you do feel like you need to sharpen things up, there's even a sharpening feature as well. But I don't think I need it. I'm going to uncheck that. And now what I want to do is stack two titles for a very custom effect. So I'm going to grab the Pro Pan title and I'm going to drop it underneath my Pro Zoom in my timeline and trim this guy up. And I'm going to select that Pro Pan, and in the on-screen controls, I'm going to frame tight on her feet. So now watch what happens when I play it back. We zoom in. We tilt down and zoom in on her feet, and then we come back and rotate out. So easy, no keyframes necessary. Let's take a look at these two orange titles here, Pro Burns. I'm just going to drop this over the length of this longer dancing clip. And basically these work the same way, but they're good for longer, slower zooms. So that's the one that says Pro Burns. If you do Pro Burns Pan, instead of zooming in, it's going to move side to side. Another one I really like is the Pro Focus. It creates a pop out of your shot. So I'm going to take this rectangle and reposition it over her face. So that's clearly what we're zooming into. And I'm going to take this rectangle and reposition it like so. So the box is going to zoom out and draw on. I'm going to disable the drawing on. I'm going to change the color of the box to like the green of her jacket, maybe a little brighter. And while these Pro Zooms are not designed to work with keyframes, this Pro Focus one works great with keyframes. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to cue up my playhead to the beginning of the clip, make sure I'm framed exactly as I want to be around her face. And on the A position line here, I'm going to add a keyframe. Now I'm going to arrow down in my timeline. And as I go, I'm going to reposition this square so that it's centered around her face. Every time I move it, it's going to create a new keyframe. And what this is going to result in is kind of that like TikTok dancing camera tracking. Did you guys see that documentary? I think it's on Netflix. What did you guys think of that? Let me know in the comments. Are those people trapped in their TikTok dance videos, or are they there willingly? By the end of the documentary, I couldn't make up my mind. I'm dying to hear what you think. All right, let's play that back and see how he did. All right, I think that's pretty cool, but let me show you now my favorite title template from ProZooms. It's called Pro Multipan. I'm gonna get rid of that Pro Focus. Let's drop this guy on here, and I'm going to tighten this up. So if you look in the title inspector and enable this show A/B option, it allows us to set a starting point and an ending point. So on A, I'm just going to leave it as it is, and then I'm gonna move my playhead to the end of this title. And on B, use the on-screen controls to reframe and zoom in on my shot. So if we play this back, I know that goes by really fast. That's our move, but this is what I like about this one. I'm gonna hit Command G on this guy to create a connected storyline. And then I'm going to hold down the Option key and make a duplicate of that exact title. And then in my title inspector, I'm going to switch the direction from A to B to B to A. So now what I've done is I've reversed the action. So now it's going to go in and come out. Let's keep it going. I'm going to cue up my playhead to the end of that clip. And now I'm going to reposition the A point to something different. Let's go down to her feet. And so on and so forth. I'm going to keep duplicating this title template, alternating the direction from either A to B to B to A, queuing up my playhead to the end of the title template, repositioning my points, and just continuously zipping around the screen. And then on the very last one, I'm going to set it B to default. And so I'm going to go back full frame. And then on each one, I'm just going to disable the show A and B. And the reason I like to make this a connected storyline is so that now I can play with the length of my title templates. And so sometimes the action can happen faster, sometimes it can happen slower. And so now it's all perfectly continuous. I think this is a great workflow. One other feature on this that I really like is using these Pro Zooms to create punch-ins on your interviews to make it look like a multicam shoot. I'm going to disable the build in and build out. And then what I'm going to do is enable this onion skin option. And what this does is it shows me the framing of the clip underneath. So when I reposition and resize my rectangle, I can make sure the eyes are on the same plane so it's not jarring for the viewer. Now, like I said, ProZooms does come with effects versions of these camera moves. The effects versions are good if you're going to be adding transitions between your video clips. That way you don't get any of that weird messiness that you might get when you use the title versions. But I would recommend you use the title versions whenever possible because they give you more flexibility and you can stack them on top of each other. And I think Dylan would agree with me on that one. If you guys want to check out ProZooms and support my fellow YouTuber Dylan Bates, the Final Cut Pro, I'll link to it down below. Make sure you snag that 15% off deal using my promo code. You guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone who watches all the way to the end. Here's some other videos I know you're gonna love, and I'll see you again.